Hello and welcome to this lab demonstration on managing vSphere distributed switches. At the beginning of this lab, we already need to be familiar with the concept of standard and distributed virtual switches. In this lab, we will create additional VDS port groups. Then we will see how we can enable and disable the VDS health check, how we can find and investigate possible VDS issues, and finally, we will see how we can create a backup of the VDS configuration. I'm sure I provided you enough good reasons to watch the following video on managing vSphere distributed switches, so let's get started. At first, in our task number 1, we need to add a new port group to our previously created VDS. So let's go to menu section, let's find a networking part. Now, on our left side in our navigation pane, we need to unwrap our SA data center. We need to find our previously created DVS lab distributed virtual switch. Let's click on our DVS lab. Let's make a right click on our DVS lab. Let's find the section which is called distributed port group, and let's create a new distributed port group. According to our lab guide, let's call it PG SA testing. Now let's click next, and on our configure settings page we need to choose the different VLAN type for our newly created port group. Let's choose the VLAN option and let's configure the VLAN ID number 10 for this particular distributed port group. Now let's click on next. Let's validate our configuration. Our port group will be named PGSA testing and our VLAN ID for this particular port group will be 10. So everything is okay. Let's click on finish and let's see that our PGSA testing port group is currently in a created state under our DVS lab configuration section. So let's continue with task number 2. In this task, we need to enable the distributed virtual switch health check option for our DVS to be able to find some possible networking configuration issues of our port groups, for example. So now we need to go to our DVS. We need to go to configure tab of our DVS. We need to find the section which is called health check. Let's click on it. And here we see that our health check option has two configurational options, VLAN and MTU check and teaming and failover check. For us to be able to enable those options, we need to click on the edit button here. Let's set our VLAN and MTU health check to enabled with a default time interval of 1 minute. It's normal here. And for our teaming and failover option, let's also set it to enabled state. And let's click OK. So now we can see that our VLAN and MTU and teaming and failover options are set to enabled state. We can refresh the page of our vSphere client to validate it. Now let's continue with our task number 2, and here we are actually going to see the result of our health check configuration change. Let's go to our DVS switch again. Let's click on the monitor tab, and here we can see the additional point which is called health. Let's click on it. And now we can see that some of our ESXi hosts, currently SA ESXi 06 and 04, have a red exclamation mark on them. If we wait a bit, we will see, let's refresh this page. If we wait a bit, we will see that our additional hosts like 05, 02 and 01 will receive the same error, will receive the same alert with red exclamation mark. Let's wait a bit. Now we can see the 05 host has this problem, and if we wait a bit we will see the same for 02 and 01 right here. So our 5 ESXi hosts, which were added to our DVS lab distributed switch, have some problems with the health state of the health check, which we have previously configured. Let's investigate why this happened. Let's click, for example, we can click on any of those hosts. Let's click on ESXi01. And here we can see that the problem is linked to our VLAN configuration. For example, for our uplink number 1, we see that our physical network adapter of this host, which is called VMNIC2, has some kind of issue and not supported issue for VLAN number 10, our previously configured VLAN. So this could possibly happen because of our misconfiguration of this VLAN number. The health check system allows our distributed switch to send some specifically produced messages with a fictitious set of MAC addresses, and our ESXi hosts can decide by receiving or not receiving those particular messages from the physical environment if we had configured some, for example, wrong VLAN numbers. For example, we are trying to send some messages through this VLAN, but we do not receive them back. And this can be a sign for us that this VLAN may be misconfigured. So in this particular lab, we know that this VLAN is wrong. So let's change it. Let's go to our PGSA testing port group. Let's go to a configure tab and let's edit our PGSA testing. On the testing edit settings page, on PGSA testing edit page, let's find the VLAN section and let's change the VLAN type from the VLAN state back to the none state. So we make our PGSA testing to send the clean traffic without any VLAN tagging here. Let's click OK. Let's wait a bit. And now we are going to return back to our DVS lab. We are going to return to the monitor tab, to the health section. And here we can see that our ESXi host do not have that red exclamation mark on that. We can see the yellow exclamation mark on our SA ESXi02, but this particular exclamation mark is not linked to our health check problem. So it's because of a different reason. We do not need to investigate right now. So now we have remediated the VLAN issue, which was signaled to us by the health check service. Now let's disable the health check. We need to enable our health check option only for finding some possible VLAN or teaming and failover or MTU issues. And after that, we should disable this option because of those fictitious fake MAC addresses, which can be quite nervous for our hypothetical network team, as they can find those MAC addresses on MAC tables or CAM tables on their physical switches. So let's disable the health check. Let's go to our DVS, let's go to a configure tab, let's find again our health check section and let's click on the edit button. Let's disable our VLAN and MTU state and let's disable our teaming and failover setting. Let's click OK. Now those two options are disabled, and the last task in this lab, which we need to do, we are going to create a backup of our DVS configuration. For us to be able to do this, we need to right-click on our DVS lab. We need to choose the settings option. Next, we need to go to the export configuration part of it. Let's choose what we need to export by this wizard. We can choose either distributed switch and all port groups, Or we can choose only to create a configurational backup for only this particular DVS configuration only, without port groups. Currently, we need to choose the switch and all port groups option, and we can actually write some description here, which we do not need right now. So let's click OK here. And now our vSphere client allows us to create the actual backup file. Let's click on OK. Let's name our file. Let's do not create just a regular backup.zip. Let's call it dvs lab-backup zip. And let's create it on our desktop. So let's click on Save. And now we can verify that this particular zip archive has been created. So let's return to our vCenter. Let's go to Menu, Global Inventory List. And here we are. Congratulations, you have completed the Managing vSphere Distributed Switches lab demonstration video. During this lab, we have seen how and where we can create a new port group for a distributed virtual switch, by which step we can enable and disable the VDS health check, how and where we can find information about possible VDS issues, and how we can create a configuration backup of the VDS. Thank you for watching this lab demonstration video. I hope the knowledge acquired here will help you with your daily job assignments, and good luck as you continue your journey in VMware world.